It is recording. So we are here with our special guest, G.G. Gebert, who has written one of the most interesting Kiss books. In fact, two versions of it, or two volumes, Kiss and Tell, dealing basically with the life and times of you and Ace Frehley.
Yep. 10
And
years.
10 years, yeah. And now, of course, you've got, and it's a very controversial book, by the way. A lot of fans love it, and some fans hate it, but we'll get into it. So there's a new version of the book, sort of an expanded edition.
Yeah, it's not even expanded. It's the new revised special edition with all the added stories that we didn't put in the first editions that were out there. I think there's like 60 new pages.
Wow, you got one there
stuff.
for us?
Yeah, this is the new cover.
Oh,
so
I like that.
Everybody knows where's the old cover. They know. Let me see the two editions we got here. Not to go off camera, that's not good for you, right?
No, we can still see you.
Yeah. This was the original version. Right. The smash hit book that took off actually. So, and this is the latest version. Definitely well worth getting. Not, I'm not doing the Gene Simmons bullshit plug here.
Right.
There's 60 extra pages in there, and there's extra stuff that I couldn't go into because of the bankruptcy and the lawsuits that were going on with Ace and I. Now that's all in the past, and there's no gag orders, there's no nothing, and I'm able to, really kiss and tell.
To really kiss and tell. Now, so what motivated you to write the book? Because back when you did this one in 96 or 97, you were really one of the first to come out and sort of expose Kiss, right? I mean, Kiss and Tell or Kiss and Sell, I think, might have come out, but Gene's book hadn't been out, Peter's book hadn't been out. What motivated you to write a Kiss book?
Yeah, you hit upon something, because we were the pioneers, Bob McAdams and I, with Kiss and Tell, and it was very, very controversial when it came out. I mean, I got criticism from all over. You were there in the trenches when that was going on.
Absolutely.
And in fact, refresh me of your question in a second, because I'm going off on a little tangent. When the book came out, and what motivated me to write it, and I'll tell you in a second. When the book came out, everybody was freaking out, going, "Oh my God, these stories, they're incredible. There's this, there's that." And then meanwhile, after we pioneered that book, Peter Criss came out with his book. His book would have never came out the way it came out if Kiss and Tell was never out.
Yeah.
And then Ace's book came out, then Gene's, and now we got Paul Stanley's book coming out. So I love. Great question about what motivated me to put out this book, because everybody misconceived, has a misconception of why I put the book out. They think I tried to cash in on Ace and I's relationship and things like that. I hate all the guys that put out tell-all books. Okay. I despise those people. I think they're rats, they're assholes, they're pieces of shit, unless their motive is honest and true, and there's a true motivation to it.
Right.
When Kiss and Tell came out, Ace and I, we were best friends, and we had a problem with Rock Soldiers Incorporated,
right.
And it was a private problem between two friends. Ace went out and publicly accused me of embezzling. I ruined his career, and he made me a scapegoat, and he did this publicly, and that was a real shit move on Ace's part to do that, because we were such good friends. To retaliate that way was awful. And, I went to court with his bankruptcies. Ace was screwing everybody with money and everything. And he was having problems with his alcohol and the drugs. In fact, Kiss fans don't take into account. Ace and I were best friends for almost 10 years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, and I literally had saved that guy's life many times. Yeah. And I was never an enabler with his drinking. I was never a yes man with him. I wasn't really a big giant Kiss fan. I hate to admit that in front of all your listeners and everything. But back then, I listened to Kiss. I had my favorite songs and things like that. But I wasn't the guy up in the front row going, Kiss, Right. I was a keyboard player and into Emerson, Lake and Palmer, progressive rock and things like that. So Ace and I became friends not over me being a fan at all. And Ace befriended me. That's right. The other thing that, Ace reached out to me. I didn't reach out to Ace because I get criticism that from other fans that they have this story in their head that, here's a fan guy latched onto Ace, got all his secrets and just put it out there to sell out and, and be a sellout. And the other thing I say to those fans that say that, when I wrote Kiss and Tell, it's not an automatic bestseller.
No.
No, I put the book was written, and here's the real reason, the motivation of it was, I was answering Ace's allegations of embezzlement and all that crap with the Rock Soldiers. That book was written to about a couple of thousand Rock Soldier fans.
Okay.
And it was there to explain what happened with Rock Soldiers, all the, explicit stuff. That's when I started writing it. And then when I went and shopped it around, I was trying to get a book deal, and all these, Judas Regan wanted it. I mean, there was a lot of big publishers that wanted it. They thought it was fantastic and, real inside stuff. And then an agent came to me and said, do you have do you have more stories? I want more comical. They were trying to mold it, just like Hollywood or a producer would mold their albums. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you about that, because you're saying that it was an answer to the embezzlement, and then, of course, there's, stories of blowjobs and strippers and all kinds of stuff. And then you go, well, wait a minute, that has nothing to do with an embezzlement. So the publishers came to you and said, listen, embezzlement's kind of a dry topic. Let's sexy this up a bit.
Right. Yeah, they wanted to get the more, the kind of the dirt. Right. Motley Crue, I'll quote them. They wanted to get more dirt and more, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Right. Okay.
And they were kind of right when I did write those stories, which I get criticized for. That's character assessment. That's what it is. That's me writing like, all right, here's a rock star that's accusing me of embezzling, which is totally, totally false. It was an absolute false allegation. And I was such a true friend to him. It was a really asinine move for Ace to stab his best friend like that and make our problem public. Okay. So the short answer that I do with interviews is Kiss and Tell is a reply to Ace's allegations and public allegations. So I made a public reply back.
And since you mentioned that it's character analysis and stuff, those are all those legal terms when, you go to court, you want to show the character. Was that a legal move then, that you wanted to establish what kind of character he was, or? No,
not at the time.
Okay.
When I did do the book, and then I brought in Bob McAdams.
Right.
And Bob, people, all the Kiss fans don't realize what a treasure they have in Bob McAdams, and you should interview him. He's the guy.
You got to hook me up.
He's the guy that was in the very, very, very beginning of Kiss. It was Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter. And then I asked Bob, I said, did Gene have any friends? Paul have any friends? And he said, it's weird. They never really had any friends to come in and help the band.
Right.
It was Ace who brought in Bob McAdams, he was a sound man for Kiss. He was the roadie for Kiss. He was the hair designer for Kiss. Okay. And then and Bob was reaping the rewards too in Girls,
Yeah.
And the craziness. But Bob and Ace were like the toxic twins also, and that was kind of the bad side
of it.
Of Bob being involved with Ace, being on the road with him, and then Ace getting all fucked up, and then Gene and Paul would blame Bob, thinking Bob was the bad influence and the enabler and all that stuff. And it wasn't. Ace is his own man, and they choose to do what they choose to do.
Yeah. Now, Ace has been sober for I think 7 years now. What do you think of him maybe rejoining Kiss and this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame stuff?
Where do you get that Ace has been sober for 7 years?
Well, that's it. I mean, that's what's being said. You listen to Eddie Trunk and you listen to Ace's through other interviews. That's certainly what he's saying. Would you?
I always hope and wish for the best, and I hope that's true. But I've been with Ace in the past, where he's announced his sobriety.
Sure.
And it's in the Kiss and Tell book. He announced his sobriety. I'm sober. He wanted to get it to Gene and Paul. He's sober. And then that night, I'd find him in a hotel room, and he's pouring Heinekens in the O'Doul's bottles and recapping them. It's insanity. I hope for the best. I mean, there's other deep scars that I have with Ace that I never even revealed in the first Kiss and Tell book.
Right, but you did a second book as well, Kiss and Tell.
Kiss and Tell More.
More.
Yeah. I'm gonna hold it up for the fans so they don't get confused. I'll hold it up. Cheap plug, and this is the cover of Kiss and Tell More.
But I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to plug the stuff. So, what can fans find in that book for those who haven't read it?
Well, Kiss and Tell More. I'm not a big. I wrote this in the reply to all the fans that were, the negative fans that were ripping me apart and criticizing me for writing the Kiss and Tell book. And I wrote the bad fan mail I got, the death threats and all that. And everybody was like, radio shows like Ted Nugent were going, I had go on the show and I go, I have my favorite death threat. And they'd crack up, I go, they go, you got a guy here that has favorite death threats, from Kiss fans. And I'm like, get serious. It's a band. It's you're supposed to enjoy the music. I didn't write Kiss and Tells and not enjoy the music anymore. And then when all these subsequent Kiss books came out and everybody called me a liar for writing Kiss and Tell, they found out over the years all these stories were true.
Right.
Yeah, and the guys that confirmed it was Peter, Peter and Ace himself and Gene, and Paul stayed silent on it. But Paul even said the book is true. He didn't want to endorse it.
Yeah, that's the funny thing that you mentioned Paul, because he's the last one to write a book, and he stayed silent on all these things, and you have to give him credit. I'm kind of curious to see what his book's going to be. Is it going to be, salsa recipes, or is he actually going to finally uncap and let it loose? Be interesting.
I don't know. I have my opinion. I think it's going to be, it's going to be his fluff piece. He even said in interviews, he said everybody writes these books and they build themselves up, and everybody, they were the god in the center of the world and the earth when things were done. But Paul has a lot of hidden stuff in his closet, and I'm sure he's not going to reveal it in his books, in a book. So I don't know what he's going to touch on. Paul, strategy-wise, has the best shot to come out with the best book because he could answer all the other books.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think Peter's was the most interesting.
Peter's was interesting, but it did come off a little too much as woe is me, everybody else did me wrong. But
that's his character.
Right.
That's Peter. So it came out in his book. His persona came out in his book. That's why I say that book was good, because you could have had the book. Company had a writer and candy coat everything and this and that. And then Ace's book is pretty much written by John Ostrowski and I forgot John's partner and everything. Right. And Ace did his persona came through. It was lazy. He didn't really write the book. And these other guys wrote his book for him. So
let's talk quickly then. Let's get some Ace stories. What are some of your favorite stories, either from the book or maybe that you haven't mentioned yet? What are some of the things that Ace did to you or for you or together?
Well, everybody says you said all the there weren't bad times. It was just like crazy times that you reflect back on it. And then Ace kind of ruined all those crazy times by, turning into a dick with me, Right. But, and it shouldn't have I wish it didn't happen that way, because then I would have looked upon all those past stories as, crazy youth, orientated craziness. Right. My favorites, I'm trying to think of good, jamming with Motley Crue was awesome. Right. Yeah. So, and it was a surprise because I got a phone call I was playing with a band called Bang Gang. I don't know, Ruby Tear. I don't know what the name was at the time. It was with Marianne Scandifio, the singer from Black Lace.
I'm trying to think. That wasn't Baton Rouge. That was, well, we'll look it up after.
Yeah, look it up. Marianne Scandifio, Black Lace, and she was in competition with Doro back then. She was great, fantastic singer. So I was working with her, and we were recording in White Plains up in the studio, up there with John Voight and Chip Taylor and all those guys. And I get a phone call from Ace in the afternoon. He goes, "You want to go see Motley Crue?" And I go, "Yeah, all right." And he goes, "I'll pick you up around 4. We'll go down. We got backstage passes." I go, "Great, it'll be fun." So we go see Motley Crue, and we go backstage. You know, we had all access everywhere. And then one of the guys from Crue came up to Ace and goes, "You want to do the encore?" And Ace goes, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "But," and then one of the roadies came over and said, "Listen, Ace, you got to stay sober." This is when Motley Crue was in their sober years.
Right.
There's no alcohol backstage and stuff. They said, "Ace, you got to stay sober, you know, because they don't want you drunk on the stage. It's, you know, they don't want that." And Ace goes, "Yeah, all right." And I got my buddy here. He's a keyboard player. Can he come on with me? And they go, "We'll come right back." Mick Morris came back. And he goes, "You play keyboards with Ace?" "Yeah, I record with him and stuff." And he goes, "You're on. You're taking the piano up on the left." I go, "Oh, that's unbelievable. That's great." You know, from the afternoon, getting a phone call from Ace, being on stage that night with Motley Crue, and playing. I think we did not Hound Dog. We did
Jailhouse Rock. Now, was this at the Meadowlands?
Yeah, at the Meadowlands. Yeah, where the Super Bowl was.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I look at the Meadowlands. I go, "Hey, that's where I played with Motley Crue." It's awesome. It's a great feeling, you know. So yeah, and then that night I'm on stage doing the encore, Jailhouse Rock, and getting blown up by Motley Crue. They had the flash pots, and nobody was supposed to be on the piano at the time, but I manned the piano, and all the pyro guys are in the back. They don't see anything, and they're blowing off the pyro, and here I am about 3 feet away from a pot, and it was loud, it was hot, it blew my ears out and everything. So it was awesome though. So that's a good story. I mean, there was so many good times. I mean, getting to hang out with Anton Fig and becoming friends with Anton. That was the other thing.
Another guy who should do our show, by the way.
Anton, yeah. I mean, I could get in touch with Anton and try to get him for you.
Yeah, yes, please. That would be great to hear about.
Yeah, and Jamie Oldacre. Did you get an interview with Jamie Oldacre?
No, but he'd be great too.
Yeah, I've been reunited with Jamie through a guy named Omar. He's a pilot for Southwest, and he's a huge Kiss fan. He turns out to be a wonderful guy, great guy, and he's been in touch with me. And all of a sudden, he sends me a picture. He goes, "Check this out!" And he's at dinner with Jamie Oldacre, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" Tell Jamie I said hello. You know, we reunited through that. Yeah, I was blessed to play with all these great drummers too. So, I mean, Anton Fig, Jamie Oldacre, Carmen Appice, Liberty DeVito. I mean, all these great drummers. So I'm like spoiled when it comes to drummers.
Yeah.
Oh, and Barry Brandt. I got to mention Barry from Angel.
Now, of course, you haven't, I would assume, actually, that you haven't spoken to Ace since the books have come out. Is that a fair assumption?
We had some weird altercations on Eddie Trunk's show.
Okay.
I think it was on Eddie Trunk's. I called in because Ace, some caller called about Kiss and Tell, and then Ace was like, almost, he couldn't curse, but he was pretty much saying, "Oh, fuck that guy," right? So I said, and I was listening to the interview, and I said, "Screw it, I'll call in. Let's go over it on the air." You know, so I called up, and then Eddie Trunk. I started speaking a little bit. He didn't recognize my voice, and I said, "It's Gordon Gebert. Let's hash this out." And he went fuck, and he went ballistic, and the interview got cut short. And Eddie Trunk said that Ace just went ballistic, and that was that. It's weird. I don't know why Ace should go ballistic now. I mean, the years have passed. Maybe all this has settled down. He came out with his own book, pretty much confirming the Kiss and Tell book.
Right.
And then all these other guys. A great question that I got was, what did I think about Ace's book, No Regrets? And I said, just listen to the title of that book, No Regrets. I go, that's like a big F-U to everybody, to all his fans. I don't know how you feel, Mitch. I know it's like, as a fan, you could be hard on me and all that stuff. That's fine.
Well, I'm not hard on anybody when it comes to these books and stuff or these stories. I really just like the music, and I collect the music, and I appreciate the fact that Paul Stanley's not going to be my best friend, and Gene's not going to be. It sort of lives outside of me and outside of my world. I worry about my family and my kids, and whether Ace is drunk or doing coke, as long as he shows up for the night that I paid for my ticket,
And entertains you.
yeah, I'm good. And when I read your book, and we're talking like 10, 15 years ago, I remember going, wow, to some stuff, and other stuff I went, was that really necessary? But I didn't go, oh, he's an ass or Ace is an ass. I just went, okay, it's a point of view, because I know that if I wrote a book about you, or if you wrote a book about me, and then Ace, we'd all say three different stories, and it would all be from one event.
Three sides to the coin.
Three sides of the coin. That's right.
Yeah.
So listen, I can appreciate that Ace.
Now you got the healthy. I say, and I'm not insulting everybody else by saying this. I said you have a healthy, intelligent approach
to it. Yeah.
To it. And then I've had the maniacs that I mean, going way off the deep end and think they have. I mean, it's like Kathy Bates and whatever. They think they have this relationship with Ace,
well, we don't.
And they got personally insulted and everything. And I'm like, you don't know Ace. And I always say, you don't know me.
Well,
I say, go ahead.
I'll just tell you a story about the reunion tour. When they did the reunion tour, they came out and they said, they're all sober, we're all past this, we're all grown up, we're all mature. And then at the hotel in Montreal, Ace comes struggling down to the reception bar area with a bottle of champagne in his hands. Clearly not sober, clearly not straight. And you just go, you know what? It's show business. They sell you a point of view, but it's not reality. It's spectacle.
Right.
And so when the book came out and said Ace was a drunk, I go, well, yeah, they just told us on CNN and all that here's Gene and Paul, everybody saying, the band is back together, everybody's sober. And you go, but I just saw you in the lobby. I know that's not true.
Right. It's one big happy family. Well, that's media. And Gene knows the power of media. Ace even knows the power of media,
sure.
And that's why they put their messages through the media,
sure.
through the internet, like, I'm sober for 7 years, this and that. Gene knows better. He could call Ace in a second because he knows what Ace is like. He could hear in the tone of his voice within 1 minute,
sure.
Is he telling the truth or not? There's a truth meter that all these guys know because they're all familiar with each other and know each other. So that's why I'm getting all these interview requests, which is I really appreciate, because Kiss is going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You celebrate that. I mean, there's a lot of, drama going on in the soap opera.
I see it as public relations, because you look at the other bands that are going in that have no drama, and from the day it was announced, we haven't read about them at all. Kiss has managed to keep their name in the press, or at least the rock press, almost on a daily basis. Eddie Trunk said this to Ace, Ace said this to Thing, Peter said that to this, and Gene said this, and there's no way, they're not my brother. And it's all, to me, it's just all spectacle. It's just keeping the name alive, because when April 10th rolls around, Billboard, Rolling Stone, they're all going to say, are they going to show up? Because they've been saying a lot of shitty stuff for 2 months. And that's what you want. You want people to care for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah, it's great. They're playing it like a good chess game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I really think they're playing the media. I think they're just playing all of us like a fiddle. Honestly, I think Gene is way too smart. I think when Paul puts out his tweets that says negative stuff and all this, I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I don't think it's random. And good for them. That's why they lasted 40 years.
What do you want? You want a boring, we're getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let's go with our, with our wheelchairs and go in. And you don't want boring. You want, you want the drama and the excitement.
Sure. And that's what creates passionate fans.
They're all adding to it. But I'm getting these, interview requests. I have friends. I have a friend right now staying at Ace's house right now in San Diego. He's working. I don't know even if I should say this.
Well,
working on a new album.
Right. He's got a 2-album deal with E1 Entertainment, and I know that they've been demoing for probably 4 or 5 months now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have a friend of mine there now working on songs with him right now and doing vocals and stuff like that. Good. So, and help him with some writing and things like that. So we have the mutual friend, and that mutual friend is fantastic to me. And it was weird when the Kiss and Tell book came out. People took sides. I'm like, why are you taking sides? I really respected the people that, I'm your friend, but I'm friends with Ace. I go, yeah, I'm not telling you to, not, break up your friendship. I mean, what is this, high school? If you're, if you're my friend, you can't be friends with him. It's stupid shit,
So let's end on this one then. What would you say to Ace right now if he was sitting face to face with you instead of me on Skype? You're talking to Ace. What would be the message?
That's a hard one because
Of
there
course.
is a deep scar wound.
Of course.
And I didn't reveal it in the Kiss and Tell book. I think it's revealed in the second book. I'm 55 years old now, so I'm like forgetting things and stuff. We had a mutual friend, and where I would really want to know with Ace, a girl that committed suicide,
Right.
and it was horrible. It was, and I'm not talking about my friend Linda, who died accidentally in the Kiss and Tell book, years ago. But there was a girl named Kim, and she was from Texas. She was a model. She was a beautiful woman, and Ace pretty much destroyed that girl, and she called me. I don't want to go I don't want to end on a bad note, so we should go to a good note after this.
Right.
So it was a huge scar because this girl committed suicide, not the best way, and I experienced it. So, and I'm not suicide hotline, and I tried to help this girl, and I didn't know how far it was going and everything. So that's a deep, deep scar that I have a problem with Ace. Okay. So, and I hope other fans understand that and realize that. If that didn't happen, there would be like Ace. Why would you ruin a great friendship? I mean, Ace has his demons. He's a fucked up dude inside, and I was a compassionate friend.
Right.
I mean, everybody thinks Ace is on top of the world because he's a super rich guy. He's in the most famous band. You guys worship him, and this and that. Everybody has it. Look at Philip Seymour Hoffman. The guy was on friggin' heroin. Great actor. I loved the guy. Loved every movie he was in.
Yeah, on top of the world. I mean, the Hunger Games are great series.
And he fucks it up. And that's my thing with Ace was crack in the face. Don't fuck up. You fucked up a great career, a great life, and it was handed to you, and he took it for granted. He took it, it's not given to everybody in this world.
Yeah, and what's worse about that is, okay, in 1970, 75, whatever, he was young, and so when you're young, you take shit for granted. You do stupid stuff. But when you got it back in 96, I mean, had it been me, I would have been at the gym every day to be in tip-top shape. I would have had a nutritionist. And then you hear stories about they had Tommy in makeup on the side because they might have to replace him some nights. And you go, how the fuck can you go back in, get a second chance, not even just a second chance at life, but a second chance at a multi-million-dollar gig with all the... And
Mitch, you're hitting the nail on the head. And our relationship broke up in 93, and Ace went back to Kiss in 96. And I'm not saying it to blow smoke up my own ass, but if I was around in 96, there would be a different attitude with Ace. And I'd be the reminder to him saying, nobody gets a second chance like this. And I would have been like, just all the things you stated, I would have been there and busting Ace's balls,
to make sure it happens.
To make sure it happened and do the right thing. And take that. And money-wise, I was always telling Ace, reinvest your fucking money. So when you get older, you're going to be living, the right life of Riley. Instead, you're how old and you're struggling, and then you're going to do Kiss conventions, signing stuff, stuff that you really don't enjoy, and fans could see it. You're sitting there and just sign it. Got your head down, not even looking at fans in their eyes and stuff like that. I was the guy. I was the good angel on his shoulder, believe it or not. And then I still caught shit from fans. So, it is what it is, It
is what it is. And I guess that's where I have some issues with people who keep saying, bring Ace back. I love Ace. Ace was my childhood. Let's not deny it. The 70s, Kiss was it. But you see somebody like Tommy Thayer who busts his balls all the time. Why would you want to throw him out? I mean, he does everything he's supposed to do.
1,000%. and Tommy has the mindset of what Ace should have.
Yes.
Tommy appreciates this gift of life and gift that he's been handed and the opportunity that he has.
And you know what? And he's talented.
Yeah, and he's talented too. Yeah.
But so the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, people say, "Oh, a reunion tour." And it's like, no. Kiss has gotten to a very comfortable spot. Let's not go backwards. And nobody deserves a third chance. A second chance, okay. Third chance, no. We've had enough.
Sounds political. We could get into a good argument there too.
Yeah. Well, listen. Who deserves all these third chances? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's insanity. So I wish your other guys, Michael, was on the show, and
Tommy.
your partners in crime, Tommy. Yeah. Tell them I said hello. I miss those guys. I wish we had
all three. Well, maybe we'll have to do on all three sides at some point. That'll get everybody going.
It would be great because I love the interaction. I love the great questions. I'm sure there's criticism there and stuff like that, which is fine. I really want people to know what I'm about, what kind of person I am, because like I said, the critics really don't know me, and they don't know they don't know Ace. I mean,
but they think they know Ace.
What's that?
They think they know.
They think they know Ace, but I'm not here to be the guy that unveils the curtain on the Oz, Wizard of Oz, and there's supposedly no Santa Claus, which I met Santa Claus in the North Pole, actually. I've actually been to the North Pole. And I met a guy his name was Nick and looked just like Santa Claus. I met Santa Claus.
There you go, perfect.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up. So you've got the books, Kiss and Tell, are both on...
I'll hold them up for your listeners. I got Kiss and Tell, the new edition.
Oh, right, and then the Rock and Roll Stories, right?
And then, and Kiss and Tell More. That's for the real. I'll say this. I'll be honest. This is for the real diehards. I mean, real diehard Kiss fans. It's not for the regular rock and roll reader or anything. This is the classic book, the Kiss and Tell book. And then Rock and Roll War Stories, hysterical book. It's one story after another. Because of the Kiss and Tell book, I was going on shows like Ted Nugent and Dee Snider, and they were telling me all these incredible, great rock and roll stories they had, and that's how this book was born. And I'm actually I'm working and juggling 3 new titles to come out in the near future. So
okay, more rock and roll stories, like more.
No, I'm doing a book on Angel, which is everybody thinks I'm going to be like squealing on it. No, it's a really good book about my experience with the band Angel, and and it's called On a Wing and a Prayer with Angel. I recommend it to anybody who wants to be a musician.
Okay,
and it's all the pitfalls, all the good stuff and the bad stuff of trying to be in the music world and the music business.
And when is that coming out?
That's done. They're waiting for Angel to do something. I mean, they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something, or I wish they'd reunite or whatever. So that's been on the back burner until something happens with it. Yeah, okay. It's a business with a publishing company. It's not like I could come out with the book and nobody cares, right? And then the other one is Kiss Stalker Unmasked. I really don't want to speak about it because my blood pressure goes up. It's a great book. And it's about the exuberant, crazy fans out there and the ones that go really overboard and stupidity. It's a great, great book. And then I'm working on a book called Crazy Eddie. I don't know if you're up in Canada, right?
Right.
Do you remember the store chain Crazy Eddie's in New York years ago?
Was that the one that would do all those crazy commercials on TV?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
His prices are insane.
Yes, I saw those.
Yeah. So I actually worked for Crazy Eddie. There was a guy, Eddie Antar. Right. Yeah. He went to prison.
Nice.
Yeah. And he embezzled from, you talk about embezzling and getting stolen from. He embezzled $70-80 million, fled to Israel. I worked for the guy. And he screwed me. He screwed a whole company, 43 stores of employees and everything.
But Danny was crazy. You should have known that.
He was crazy. But Danny DeVito is trying to do a movie about him. But he's been stopped from all you talk about infighting and everything, the Antar family. But the Crazy Eddie book is really good because it's set in the 80s. and I worked for this electronic retail store. I was a district manager and the whole thing. And I was trying to get back to my music career. I just came back from my tour when I came from the North Pole. You think I was bullshitting you? I really went to the North Pole, doing USO shows with Donna Summer's backup band.
Right.
Yeah, so I was flying the Reykjavik, Iceland, Thule, Greenland. I was.
The U.S. still has a base up in Greenland.
They still had the base up there, and I actually spent 6 weeks up there. It was unbelievable. So yeah, that book, the Crazy Eddie book, that should be another year or two. I'm in the midst of writing it now, and still perform. I'm not performing live. I'm still recording, and doing production and TV shows too.
No Vinnie Vincent book for us?
No, no.
Damn.
You have to ask Diane to do that one.
I would. There's a guest that I would love to have on.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to give her a call right after we get off. I'm going to see how she feels about it. I know she's very, very private. She's not interested in being in the public eye and things like that. But
I'll interesting.
I
think Diane would be an interesting girl to chat with. But thank you. So let's go. People go out to iTunes. You can download this, Kindle, Amazon, pretty much anywhere online, right? Type in.
Yeah, anywhere. All the major. Yeah, and when they had the bookstore, I don't know if bookstores are still around. There's no more part. Yeah, who needs them now, right?
It shows up in your mailbox. It's a lot easier.
I still like. I'm showing my age. I still like to grab the pages, and I can't read a lot online. You're online so much, and I can't read a whole book online I like the old style.
The old style.
Paper, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely recommend people get that book. It was a very entertaining read. And, of course, keep an open mind. It's one side of the story. It's a very interesting side of the story. But,
Well, you hit on something, not to make this longer. I recommend read Ace's book, No Regrets. Yeah. I'm plugging it for him. Read Peter Criss's book. What was the title?
I have it right here. It's Make Up to Break Up. My
Make Up to Break Up.
In and Out of Kiss.
Yep. Read that book, and then read the Wendy Moore book, Into the Void, and then read Kiss and Tell. And you'll get the whole inside. I mean, you could assemble everything from all the different perspectives, and then you could find some weird truth in there.
And you got to filter through it. You got to say, okay, like the Wendy Moore book, you got to say she's definitely got an axe to grind, but it's based on some facts. So, let's read through, sift through it, and you get a story. And
right. Yeah.
And that's what's great about Kiss. Kiss has a million stories, and as you can see with three sides of the coin, there's always somebody ready to come on and tell you a little bit of their history.
Yeah, I love your show. I really, I listen whenever I can. You guys do a great, fantastic job. I wish like your sidekicks. I wish I got
the full compliment. Yeah, you know what? I'll talk to them and see if we can line that up. We have we oversaturated our interviews in February, and so I did a couple of these one-offs just to keep plugging away and keep the words going out there.
Doing a fantastic job. I love it.
Well,
keep it up, Mitch.
Thank you very much, and let's do a part 2 at some point.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Great. Let me just shut this down a second.